I'm 42 male, and for pretty much my entire adult life, I've poured my soul into my logistics company. I started with a single, beat-up van and a mountain of debt, working insane hours to turn it into a fleet that's a major player across 3 states. It's my baby, my wife of 15 years. She was there for the ride, but never really in the driver's seat. She took care of the house, and in the beginning, we were a team. But slowly, over time, her role as my partner became more of a permanent, all-expenses-paid vacation. Her life revolved around brunches, designer shopping, and charity galas where my company was always the lead sponsor. I told myself I didn't mind. I thought I was being a good husband, providing her a life of comfort. In reality, I was just funding a lifestyle for a woman I barely recognize anymore. I was in the middle of closing the biggest deal of my career last Tuesday, a deal that would take us national. My phone buzzed on the big conference table. I glanced at it, expecting a reminder about dinner or something. Instead, one message from my wife blew my world apart. I want a divorce. All future communication should be directed to my lawyer. His details will follow. That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, we need to talk. 15 years, 2 kids in college, a whole life built together, ended with the cold efficiency of a corporate layoff. The voices of my business partners faded to a dull drone. I read the text again, and then a third time. It felt like a gut punch, but strangely, what followed wasn't sadness. It was a cold, sharp clarity. She had drawn a line in the sand. She had set the terms of engagement. This wasn't marriage anymore. It was a hostile takeover. And she had made a critical mistake. She was launching an attack on the man who funded her entire existence. My thumb moved over the screen. I typed one word back. Understood. I excused myself from the meeting, walked to the quiet of my office, and locked the door. My hands didn't even shake. The part of me that was a husband just switched off. The CEO took over. My first call wasn't to a lawyer. It was to my bank. I am the primary account holder on everything. Her American Express Black Card, her Visa, her half-dozen store cards. They were all supplementary. I need to cancel a few cards. I told the guy on the phone. Report them as stolen. I listed every single one. In under 5 minutes, her financial lifeline was cut. Next, I logged into our joint savings account. There was about $75,000 left in it. I saw she pulled out $5,000 that morning, which was no doubt her lawyer's retainer. I transferred the entire remaining balance into a new account in my name only. Click. Then I called the cell phone provider. She was on my family plan. Of course. I had her line switched to a basic, pay-as-you-go plan with $50 of credit. Good luck with that. The gas card for her Range Rover, the country club membership, the wine subscription box, everything. Canceled. Done. She wanted to communicate through lawyers? Fine. From that moment on, we were no longer a team. We were adversaries. I forwarded her lawyer's details to my own guy, a shark I keep on retainer for my business, and told him to expect a call. Then I packed a bag from our house, a place that suddenly felt like a stranger's, and checked into a hotel. For the next 48 hours, I worked. I finalized my deal, and I waited. The first sign of life came in a series of texts from her. My card just got declined at Neiman Marcus. Fix it. Why is the savings account empty? Are you messing with my phone? I can't even get on Instagram. I read each one and immediately deleted it. I was following her orders. After all communication through her lawyer. Then her mother called me, screaming, "You're a monster. You can't just cut her off. She gave you the best years of her life." She's the one who texted me she wants a divorce and to only speak to her lawyer. I said calmly, "She's sensitive. You've ignored her for years for that stupid company. She deserves half of everything you have." "Goodbye," I said and blocked her number. On the morning of the 3rd day, her lawyer finally called. He was smooth, arrogant, and talked to me like I was some idiot he was about to fleece. "Mr. Harrison, we have a problem. You've improperly cut my client off from marital funds. I suggest you restore them immediately, or I'll be filing an emergency motion. My wife instructed me to direct all communication to you." I said, my voice flat. So you can talk to my lawyer. I'm just following her instructions. I could practically hear him sputtering. This is financial abuse. The court will not look kindly on this. Then I guess we'll see you in court. I hung up. He called back an hour later, his voice frantic. My client can't buy gas for her car. She can't buy groceries. This is inhuman. Sounds like she's having a tough day, I said, then hung up again. My lawyer called me a few minutes later, laughing. You've really kicked the hornet's nest. They're demanding a 4-way meeting tomorrow. They're coming in hot, planning to demand 50% of the business, the house, and massive alimony. Are you ready? Oh, yeah, I said. I'm ready. There's also something you should know from about 10 years ago. The meeting was in my lawyer's conference room. I was calm. My wife and her lawyer stormed in looking like they were ready for war. She shot me a look of pure hatred, but with an unmistakable glint of smug victory in her eyes. She thought she had me. Her lawyer launched right in, laying out their ridiculous demands. Half my company, which is valued in the 8 figures. The house, $30,000 a month in permanent alimony, so she could maintain her lifestyle. As he droned on, she just sat there nodding, a little smile on her face. She honestly believed she was entitled to the fruits of my entire life's work. When he was finally done, my lawyer just smiled politely. Thank you. That's a very ambitious opening position. He then slid a blue folder across the table. I think you should look at this before we go any further. Her lawyer opened it, annoyed. His face went from smug to confused to pale in about 10 seconds. My wife snatched the papers from him. What is this? She hissed. That, I said, finally speaking, is the postnuptial agreement you signed 10 years ago. You could have heard a pin drop. This is outrageous, her lawyer stammered. This was never disclosed. It must have been signed under duress. Hardly, my lawyer said, sliding another stack of documents over. 10 years ago, my wife's father was about to lose his business and their family home. He was facing bankruptcy. My wife came to me, hysterical, begging me to help. I looked her dead in the eye. I helped. I used $500,000 of my premarital inheritance to bail out her dad. I saved their family from complete financial ruin. And I asked for one thing in return. I leaned forward. You signed a postnup that clearly states my company is my separate property, untouchable in any divorce. You signed it in front of notary after I paid for you to get your own legal advice, which you declined. You knew exactly what you were signing. You were just betting you'd never have to see it again. Her case completely imploded right there. But we weren't done. And now, my lawyer said, let's talk about the adultery. He dropped a thick PI report on the table. For the last 18 months, she'd been seeing a wealth manager who was coaching her on how to divorce me and get the biggest payout. The report had it all: photos, hotel receipts, texts. This guy was a total con artist who preyed on rich, unhappy women. He had convinced her she was entitled to a massive settlement, and he was planning to get a piece of it. Her whole world crumbled in that room. She walked out with nothing but a small portion of the equity from the house and a few years of temporary alimony, just enough to force her to get a job. But the real revenge came a month later. Her father's business still had a huge loan with a commercial bank. Using a series of shell corporations, I bought that debt. They now owe me. I didn't foreclose. I just sent them a notice that their debt was now owned by a private entity. Her mother called me, crying and begging. I told her, I don't want anything. I just want your family to wake up every single morning knowing that the only reason you still have a business is because I allow it to exist. Live with that. The silence on the other end of the line was the most satisfying sound I've ever heard. My ex is now living in a small condo, trying to figure out how to live on a budget. Her affair partner vanished when the money did. And me? I have my company, and I have my peace. It was a nasty, brutal lesson, but I learned that when someone decides your marriage is just a business transaction, you better make sure you end up owning all the assets.